So immediately after the first attempt I had afterwards, I figured it out. I had to go like around the opposite way. And I'm annoyed that it took me 2 seconds after. Basically, my original method was totally wrong. Okay, I'm done putting in the program. What do I do next? Going back to 999, by the way, on the Pixel Doctor. Just be quiet and watch. See, it's moving already. Awesome. Dispatch 5000 did just what I told it to do. Lined up all the crates. Great, now we can reach the coffin. So we climb those crates over the fence. Oh, jeez. Yes, I'm here. There. What's in the coffin? Is it someone's body? They walked slowly past the row of crates until they came to the coffin. They stopped and nodded to one another, and Junpei put his hand up the lid of the coffin. Moby! Just kidding. He smirked heartedly at his own joke. Junpei grumbled and shook his head. Whatever, just open it. Junpei resisted the urge to remind Santa that he would have had it open a long time ago. Santa had not interrupted and quickly threw off the lid of the coffin. They peered inside. Contrary to what they expected, inside the coffin was quite large. It was mostly empty, but not completely so. Laying on the bottom was a rusty key. Next to the key, it's a gun. Yeah, a revolver. Looks pretty old. Wonder if it's a replica? They reached down slowly and cautiously picked up the revolver. In his hand, it felt heavy. He checked the cylinder. There were 6 bullets. He'd never seen a real gun, or even real bullets before. He couldn't tell if these were real or not. The barrel was rifled, and nothing seemed to be blocking it. As Aphid said, the gun was a very old one. However, it appeared to have been well maintained. If it were a real gun, Junpei thought it most likely functioned perfectly. If it was real. Holding the gun made Junpei feel unpleasant. Carefully, he placed it back in the coffin. You're not gonna take it? Of course not. All something like that is gonna do is cause more trouble. It's a powerful weapon that gives one person a huge advantage. Something like that would be way too dangerous to have around. We're in enough danger already. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Maybe Sir put the gun here hoping that something might happen? In other words, he put it here to make us fight each other. In that case, we should most certainly leave it here. I, for one, have no desire to let Zero control me. The others nodded. They had no desire to be under Zero's control either. Okay, we've got that figured out, but you aren't gonna leave the key there, are you? Yeah, of course I'm not. I picked the rusty key and slid the top of the coffin back into place, the gun back where they had found it. I'm probably gonna need the gun. I don't trust leaving it alone. The key here, and yes, sounds like that did it. Yay! Looks like that opened it, Jumpy. I see, this key should open this door. Hey, what are you waiting for? Let's go! Yes, it's opening. I don't like leaving the gun behind, because someone else can go get it. And presumably the other group has a gun there too. The boy that left the cargo room headed straight towards the stern. Junpei and the other 3 proceeded down it silently. Some distance along, a large room opened up on the left-hand side. It looked familiar. Our gate covered each of the elevators. Junpei and his companion drew to a stop and began to discuss what the next move should be. We've seen this elevator before. We got off the other one on the left just a little while ago. We went through the number 6 door, and that took us to the engine room. Yes, after that we passed the door of the cargo room. Now we're back here. In other words, we made a loop. We're back where we started. We approached the elevator. Finally, he pushed the triangular button on the wall next to it. Won't pass. So was that just a huge waste of time? Aside from the gun? The elevator door opened. And shut. Pushing the button had apparently restored power to the elevator. The elevator was now functional. What do we do now? Should we return to C deck? Now this hallway keeps going. Even if we do end up going back, I think we should see what's down here first. I agree. Let's go. The decision made. Junpei and his companions left the elevators behind and continued down the hallway. Sometime later, Santa, who had been walking several paces in front of the rest, suddenly stopped. Set in the wall in front of him was a door. As far as Junpei could tell, there was no other way to proceed. This door or nothing. Alright, let's open it. Junpei took a deep breath, righted himself, and then grabbed the doorknob and pulled the door open. Paused for a moment, then stepped through into the room. There he saw a number that had hung over his head since they had woken up. 9. Like the number on every other door, this one too was rough shape made of red paint. Its door was set into the back of the room. Junpei leapt toward it in a sudden burst of hopeful energy. It was a large double door, heavy and full of solemn importance. He grabbed a hold of the door handle and nothing. It shook, nothing, but he had expected it to open. A red sat on the wall next to the door. Screen read vacant. Finally, they found it. Junpei felt himself overwhelmed by a torrent of emotion. At last, they found the exit, but cold gripped his heart, and he knew all too well why. He stood frozen, unsure what to think or feel. Junpei, look! Behind you! He spun around. He couldn't believe what he saw. There was a door with the number 9 written across it. Was there a second door? Why? Junpei's voice was barely audible, even to himself. He stumbled toward the second door, as if to somehow compelled. It was a small single door, it said, in the starboard corner of the room, the same wall as the door they'd entered from, on the opposite corner. 9. There was no mistaking it. Red sat on the wall next to this door as well. Junpei shook the door handle pointlessly and muttered to himself, Why? Why the hell are there 2 doors? It was Santa who answered. There were always 2 doors. Just think about it. Zero never said there was only 1 door with 9 on it. It's hidden, but an exit can be found. It's a way out. Sneak a door that carves A9. Of course, we just assumed that there was only 1. After all, why would there be more than 1? Oh man. Jeez. Junpei was stunned. Zero's tricks had taken him completely by surprise. There were 2 doors. Oh, I didn't mean to hit that. That meant all 9 people who had met in the central staircase could escape and leave no one behind. Out of the reason for the bracelet numbers being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was clear. 79. Divided in 2, the digital room for both teams would be 9. For instance, 2, 4, 7, 8, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, then the digital room for both teams would be 9. Or 2, 3, 4, 9, and 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, the digital room would also be 9. There were many other workable combinations, but they all ended in the same way, the digital room 9. What does that mean? The answer was quite simple. From the very beginning, the nunnery game was designed to save all 9 people. Zero hadn't been lying. Zero had never said there was only 1 door. But anyone who found themselves in the game would have assumed that that was the case. Fights would have broken out. One team would likely betray or deceive the other. Someone might be hurt. Someone might get killed. Eventually, they would reach the room Junpei now found himself in and realized the pointlessness of whatever violence they visited upon each other. There were 2 doors. No need to kill each other. They understand and be appalled, overwhelmed with the guilt of what they'd done. Perhaps that was the purpose of the game. It was how the nunnery game was meant to be played. Fortunately, they hadn't started to fight one another, at least not yet. If one misstep was made, if the wrong mistakes happened, the stakes would rise and the noose would tighten. The thought of it sent a chill down his spine. So what are we going to do, Junpei? The voice broke through Junpei's frantic thoughts. Santa's voice. It brought Junpei back to his senses. No use worrying about the future, he needed to figure out what they were going to do next. There were 4 people in the room. Santa, Ace, Junpei, and June. The bracelet numbers were 1, 3, 5, 6. The digital root would be 6. In other words, the 4 of them couldn't open the door with the number 9. But what if there were only 3? Could 9 be opened with 3 of them? It took him no time at all to determine the answer. There were only one combination of 3 people that would give him the digital root of 9. 1, 3, and 5. That would mean June gets left behind. No! No, we gotta go back. It wasn't a possibility he was willing to consider. Santa and Ace agreed. Yep, I agree. You can't leave June behind. Junpei let out his breath that he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Are you sure? I don't mind staying. June's body betrayed her true feelings. Her eyes were wet with the beginnings of tears and her legs shook. It's okay. There's no way we leave you behind. Santa had said what Junpei had known the moment he realized which 3 people could go through the door. Besides, I'd rather drown at the bottom of the ocean than escape with this sausage fest. Maybe I'll go to Atlanta. Are you sure you don't mean Atlantis? Alright. Ha 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 ha. Perhaps it was sudden reassurance that no one wanted to leave June behind, but Junpei laughed harder than he had in some time. Santa and Ace smiled. Guys, June blinked tears from her eyes and bit her lip. She didn't seem to know what to say. Very well, let's head back to C deck then. We should be able to take the elevator we passed earlier. Perhaps Clover, 7, and Lotus will have returned for door 1. Even as Ace spoke, they knew finding the others wouldn't improve the situation. There was no way they could be split into teams that would both go through the door. Ace knew it. They all knew it. There was nothing else they could do. They would find the other 3 and search for another solution. Alright, let's go. Ace looked at all 3 of them and turned and head through the door. Santa and June followed. Junpei started toward the door, then stopped. I'm too busy with the other concerns to notice the room itself. It didn't seem terribly important now, but what exactly was it? Junpei looked around the room for the first time, then noticing things that weren't doors with knives on them. There were a couple that ran between 2 columns of wooden benches that ran the length of the room. It's like a church or something. Carpet. Or like a chapel. Carpet began to add a large set of double doors that ran toward the bow toward Junpei wasn't sure. There's an altar, perhaps? A small rectangular alcove at the end of the carpet, and inside the alcove was a raised platform. Sitting on top of the platform was a coffin. Coffin. What on earth was a coffin doing in a place like this? Before Junpei had time to answer that question. Hey, Junpei, what the hell are you doing? Let's move. Santa's voice echoed from the hall. Right, okay, I'll be right there. Junpei turned on his heel and left the quiet, somber room. I would have... There's someone in the coffin. Is it Snake? Is it the Ninth Man? Is it Lotus? Who's in the coffin? It's Zero himself. Took the elevator up to C deck. Once there, they headed toward the main hall of the central staircase. It didn't take them long. Junpei found 7 and Lotus waiting for them. They didn't look happy. We've got a problem. Clover's gone. Junpei's 3 companions looked at one another. They turned back to 7 and Lotus. What do you mean, gone? Santa, Ace, and June had their own questions to ask. When? Why? You 2 were at door 1 with Clover, didn't you? 7 and Lotus responded as best they could. Yeah, we went through the door together. Clover barely spoke to us. She just did her own thing the whole time. There were 4 rooms on the other side of door 1. She wouldn't let us into the 4th room. She just said, I'll take care of this one. And shut the door. She must have blocked it with something on the other side. We waited for a while, but Clover didn't come out. I called for her, but she didn't answer. So I kicked down the door, we went in the room, but it was empty. Clover wasn't there. And the other wall, and it was open. Figured she opened the door and left by herself. Ran after her, of course, but... Well, obviously we didn't find her. You figured that much out. Clover's gone. Is she in the coffin? Junpei thought for a moment. When did this happen? Got here just before you. Suddenly have excellent timing. You haven't searched anywhere else other than near the staircase? No, we haven't. Finally, Ace spoke. Voice has the edge for it. It's all been concerned. Very well then, we best separate and look for Clover. But since Clover fucking missing! We haven't much time left. Let's begin. Just a quick nod all around and then 6 my players spread out. Guys, last time we did this, someone died. Junpei and Drew ran to the large octopus room. As quickly as they could, they searched around under the beds and in the corners. She's not here. No, she isn't. Alright, in that case, we should go take a look at the shower room. Shower room? Her brother is. I have gone to see him. Her lips, she knew as Junpei is the one shower room that wasn't pleasant. Might as well check, right? Let's go. Screwdriver stuck between the door and the frame. Junpei June slipped through the door, moved down the hall, and stepped into the shower. Oh, look. Yeah, I don't think she's here. June's voice was faint. She placed her hand over her mouth. Her face looked a little green. The rest of the room was almost unbearable. It had grown far more unpleasant since the last visit. I think they had eaten lunch and would have had difficulty retaining it. He wanted to leave the room as soon as possible, but he had to be sure, and there was only way to be sure to check the other side of the divider. Wait here. June offered no resistance and nodded her head weakly. Wait a second, that wasn't there before. The LR. Corn turned his head. As he expected, Clover was nowhere to be seen. The only thing on the other side was the divider and the dead body lying in a reddish-brown puddle of dry and drying blood. The skull shattered, and the head a little more than a pulpy mass of brain, bone, and mascara. Left arm was being hastily twisted by a horrific alien shape, and bright white of the ulna shining through the veins of the skin and the muscle. Huh? Wait. Bright white. Ulna? Oh. Pieces found a place. Junpei remembered something Clover had told him in the laboratory. Brother's left arm is, it's not like a normal person's arm. That's gonna hurt really badly. To save him, they had to cut off his arm. Of course. Why hadn't he realized this earlier? Clover had told Junpei Snake's left arm was a prosthetic. Left arm of the corpse left behind the divider was clearly a real human arm, or at least it had been once. That meant the corpse. Junpei and June headed back toward the large hospital room and stepped through the door out of the shower room. How did you only realize this now? They reached the stairs when Seven appeared breathless and yelling, "Junpei, June, where were you guys?" He looked pale and his face was drawn. Something terrible had happened. Junpei's breath caught it in his throat. Did something happen? Seven drew his shaking head across his face and gulped down a breath of air. Clover is dead. Found her in the first-class bathroom. I don't think she's dead, seeing as what we just found of. Pant. All sound ceased for Junpei. The world was an emptied, muffled expanse. And then he began to hear his own breathing. Oh no, that's just legit. His mouth moved, but he heard nothing. She tried once more, then her energy was gone. She collapsed against the wall. Could have helped her, but he hadn't known, and now she's dead, so she stood there frozen in place. Clover, why? Why had this happened? He forced his body to move. Each step felt like another nail poured into his heart. Finally, he was in front of her. Did you check the pulse? He placed 3 fingers against Clover's neck. No pulse. Alright, no breath. She was still warm. Her eyes were closed peacefully, and it would have been easy to think she was asleep. Easy. That is were it not for the slowly expanding puddle of blood beneath her. He traced the source back to her, a gash just beneath her shoulder blade. Was there the weapon a knife, perhaps? If it was a knife, the killer had taken it when they left. When he closed his eyes, he saw Clover smile. Her innocent smile, her energy. He would never see her smile again. He could have done something. He could have helped her. His stomach twisted itself into a sickening knot. Junpei lifted the limp June from the floor and carried her from the bathroom. Are you alright? Close question, and he knew it. Yes, I think so. The voice was weak. The fever had gone down, but the emotional scars she received were not likely to recede as quickly. Junpei laid his hands on her shoulders, and they walked back into the bedroom. You get some rest. Lowered June until she was sitting against the bed. She nodded once and stared at the floor. There were 4 others in the room. Ace, Lotus, Santa, 7. They all stared at nothing, their faces drawn and tired. After a while, they drifted into the bathroom to see Clover's corpse themselves. Once everyone was back in the bedroom, Junpei walked slowly to the center of it and looked around as the slumped figures gathered there. Who was the first to find the body? Me. Then spoke from behind Junpei. He turned around. Seven's hand was up. I read that as hands. Why'd you come to this room? To look for Clover. Why else? I found her body in the bathroom. As soon as I did, I ran outside. Got to the top of the stairs, but like you soon, I yelled as loud as I could. Hey guys, I found her, but it's bad. She's in the bathroom in the first class cabin. Come quickly. Or something like that. Then I went back to the bathroom. Ace, Santa, and Lotus showed up real soon after that. I guess you two hadn't heard me or something because it didn't show up. So I took off down the stairs to look for you. After that, I mean, you know the rest, right? Junpei nodded and closed his eyes. There's nothing more he needed to ask. 7, there's one more thing I'm worried about. What's that? When we finished all the puzzles in the room and got the door open, you stuck one of those plates in the door between the frame, right? Why did you do that? Well, didn't I already tell you that? It's so the door wouldn't lock, so we can come back into this room. Oh, you think I did it? Well, I don't know. It kinda depends on what you say, doesn't it? 7 sighed and shook his head. Follow me. There are 2 doors standing next to one another. He opened one on the right. Behind the door was a closet. 7 stepped inside. He stood in front of one of the shelves that filled it and gestured toward a small box. The box was a small metal cube. He looked at Junpei. This is the reason. The safe. Couldn't open it when we were getting through this room. Figured there might be something pretty important in it. Couldn't stop thinking about it. Besides, figured eventually we might figure out what the numbers are for the safe, and if we did, we'd want to screw around with door 5 again. So I put the plate in the exit so we couldn't go back in that way. Get it now? Junpei nodded and looked at the safe. He grabbed the handle and shook it. Nothing happened. It was locked as it had been when 7 found it. There was one change, however. Just underneath the safe was a pile of fine reddish-brown powder. Rust. I stared at it for a moment. Had someone opened the safe, dislodged the rust? Junpei left the closet. 7 followed him back to the bedroom. It was cold and quiet. No one spoke. They sat, frozen in place by shock and grief and fatigue. The room felt tiny and oppressive, and a thick metallic smell of blood filled the room. Junpei turned and headed for the living room. Anything to get out of there. Was there some other clue, perhaps? Anything that might lead to him? Might lead him to whoever stabbed Clover. He took his time and examined the room carefully. His eyes caught on the door. The door that led to the passageway at door number 5. Behind that door was the dead body of the man. Maybe I should have another look at it, just in case. Quietly, he pushed open the door. Smell hit him like the blow to the face. His lungs contracted, unwilling to inhale such fetid air. Acid boiled up from the base of his stomach, churning what little food was there into a violent froth. It was too much for him, and he vomited. A thin stream of yellow water and bile splattered onto the floor. He wiped his mouth weakly and stared at the dead body. Chunks of torn flesh lay in an arc around the body. What remained of the intestines he slid out from the floor. A pool of blood that framed it was half dry, but so thick that it had taken on a texture not unlike that of an egg yolk. It had sunny side up. On the floor next to the broken mask of the man's head lay his glasses, cracks spidering across the lenses. Bloodstains near them had already dried like scabs on the floor. That's when he noticed. It's gone. His bracelet. It's gone. It had been there when Junpei had gone through door 5 before. I'm sure of it. Right next to the glasses. But now... it's gone. The number 9 bracelet was gone. But why? Had someone taken it? He was turning over and over in his mind when he heard Seb's voice. Huh? Where'd you go, Junpei? It drifted out of him from the living room. Junpei walked slowly out of the hallway. There you are. Are you looking for something in the hallway? Someone looked up as Junpei entered the room. Did you find something? He thought for a moment before he responded. No, nothing. Technically, it wasn't a lie. Actually, that was the problem. He hadn't found anything in a way. In fact, that was the problem. Something he'd expect Oh, and hadn't been there. The ninth man's bracelet. What's up? Well, I want you to take a look at something. What is it? Seven led Junpei back to the bathroom. Well, her bracelet's gone. I could say at least. As Clover's corpse came into view, he felt his heart flip and then fall to the bottom of his stomach. Something between a sigh and a groan escaped his lips. What was it that you wanted to show me? His voice was hollow and empty. I searched Clover's body again. I found this. As he spoke, he moved around Clover's head. He knelt down and flipped open her right hand. What? She's holding a piece of paper. I hadn't actually looked at it yet. Didn't want to disturb the crime scene, you know? Basic stuff. Well, I did borrow one thing. Wasn't sure what he meant, but it likely didn't matter. Paper was more important. He picked it up and carefully opened it. There were 2 sentences written on it. Truth had gone, truth had gone, and truth had gone. Now truth is asleep in the darkness of sinister hand. What is this, some kind of secret code? Seven peered over Junpei's shoulder at the note. Junpei stepped away from Clover's body. Into the living room, he began to pace, attempting to decode the note. At first it was likely the phrase sinister hand. Sinister hand means left hand. Sinister hand was used in heraldry that meant to the left of the bearer of the coat of arms. Left hand. Left hand. What did left hand mean? He looked around at his own arm, at the bracelet on his wrist. The darkness of the sinister hand has have something to do with the bracelet? Examine the bracelet closely. There were 2 protrusions on either side of the face. Left and the right side of the face. Left and right. Left and right. Right and left. Truth is gone. Truth gone. It sounded funny. What did it mean? Truth gone. What are those 2 words? Backwards, going to truth. Aren't even words should be doubted. They had anything to do with the riddle. Good try though. And it was one of 2 options. I just wasn't sure which. About switching them. Gone. Had truth. Made no more sense than the initial riddle. Let's really switching the words wasn't good count. Very different idea. Truth gone and truth mean. Truth, of course, meant something that was correct. That was fact, in words, something that was right. It would follow then that gone meant left. After all, after someone left, they were gone. In that case, however, they clearly refer to the directional homonyms, so that means left truth equals right, on equals left. That seemed to make sense. Junpei looked at the bracelet again. 2 protrusions to the left and the right face, Junpei. Press them in the following order. Truth had gone. Truth had gone. I think it's this one. Right, left, right, left, right, left. And then one after another, 8 numbers flashed on then off in the face of Junpei's bracelet. He checked one more time to be sure. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Huh? What are those numbers? Junpei didn't answer. He couldn't answer. He had no idea what they were either. Decided to forget the numbers and the order they came in if he said anything. He said anything. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Muttering the numbers to himself over and over, Junpei headed toward the bedroom. 14383421. 14383421. 14383421. 14383421. Before long, he found himself in front of the safe again. Perhaps the only device he could think of that require a sequence of numbers such as the ones he just discovered. Besides, someone had opened the safe at least once already. Had Clover come to the room to open it? 14383421. Junpei slowly dialed the numbers in the bracelet he had given him. To the right 1, to the left 4, right 3, 8 to the left, 3 to the right, 4 to the left, 2 to the right, 1 to the left. Finished. Junpei heard a small telltale sound of a lock opening. He grabbed the handle and took a deep breath and pulled it open. Inside was a piece of paper, roughly the same size as the one Clover had been holding. Junpei picked it up. This is what it said. Act 1. An under agreement was played once before, like 9 years ago, of course. 9. Person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. Snake. Number 3. It was planned by the following 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceutical CEO, Ace. Intao Hongo, Cradle Pharmaceutical student staff. Pharmaceutical R&D survivor. That person. Major shareholder in Cradle Pharmaceutical. I must punish them. For the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls may be saved. I state now the truth. 0. Junpei left the closet. There are 5 people waiting for him in the bedroom. Ace, Lotus, Santa, 7. And June. He looked at each one of them in turn, then slowly placed his hands in the pockets of his vest. Sorry, but do you think you could all come with me? I'm with you. I want all of you to go to the big hospital room. Why? There's something I want to be sure of. What do you want to be sure of? I want to know if the person I suspect is really the culprit. Wait, then you're saying... Yeah. I think I got it figured out. I know who killed Snake and Clover. The atmosphere of the room changed. The roof was suddenly gone, replaced by tension. Like a strap of leather stretched to its limit. Eyes stared at Junpei. Pretend not to notice. Anyway, if you could all please move to the big hospital room. I'll explain everything as soon as we get there. Then, almost as if on cue, the bell began to ring. They all heard it. It was the bell from the clock at the main staircase. The bell rang 5 times, then ceased.